We have a new sponsor and an old friend joining Envy Pillow here, Sierra Sil. With 2 rare patents and a money-back guarantee, Sierra Sil, available at Shoppers Drug Mart, London Drugs and Health Food stores, is the natural mineral joint pain remedy you need.
Go to sierrasil.com, SIERRASIL.com, and use the code GF for 10% off.
Hi there, and welcome to episode 21 of Gracefully and Frankly. So good to have you along for the ride, because we've got the top down, and maybe we shouldn't. I'm Erin Davis.
I'm Lisa Brandt. Yes, the girls are flying freely. No, they're not.
No, nobody needs that.
The girls are holstered
within an inch of their lives.
Yeah, we're going to talk about tops, to take it off or not to take it off. You know where I stand.
Yes, indeed. And of course, we had my story about running free and my free-range chicken cutlet. But this is about men. We're also going to talk about hormone replacement therapy and some information we were fed in 2002 that just may not be true. You may find yourself going, oh, I am going to talk to my doctor.
And something new that might be on its way across the border that could help a lot of women as well. No clue as to when we're going to get a hold of it, but it's good to know that it's being worked on anyway.
Yeah, finally, a little attention over here. And of course, this whole shebang is made possible free to you by Envy Pillow, and they are introducing their new Envy Copper 2.0. It's the only copper technology bio-infused directly into natural fibers. And you're thinking, well, why do I want copper in my pillow? To turn my face green? No, they're permanently bio-infused into the natural fibers. They kill 99.99% of microbes within 4 hours. And now with us with a 1-year-old dog, I got more than my share of microbes. I'm pretty sure, because, yeah, she likes to sleep up on my Envy pillow. And they kill antibiotic-resistant pathogens like MRSA, and 100% copper coverage infused into every single strand. Not only that, we can tell you till the cows come home about how good it is for you, but how good does it feel? Lisa, you met our 98-year-old friend, Mira.
Yes.
Mira has had terrible neck pain, and every month she gets an injection into the back of her neck to try and alleviate it. Finally, copper, the penny dropped for me, and we took her over an Envy pillow the other day, and she emailed the next day, and she said, my darlings, my neck feels much better. Now,
Aww.
I am hoping that she will keep this and keep using it, because she's telling us about how she bunches her pillows up so she has the right amount of support when she's on her side, and all this just trying to get some relief. She's 98.
Yeah.
And here I'm thinking, oh my God, why didn't I think of Envy Pillow? If you have any questions about Envy Pillow, go to envypillow.com, use the code GF, get 10% off. Any age at all, it'll help.
And just a reminder that we talk about what happens on this podcast later on our Facebook page. So join us there too, won't you? Gracefully and Frankly on Facebook.
I love waking up to a tweet from you because, of course, I follow you at Lisa M. Brandt. What's the M stand for?
Michelle.
Michelle. Were you named for the Beatles song because you came a few years... No, you came before the Beatles song. Did your mother write the Beatles song, Michelle?
I don't know, because it's Michelle with one L. And I don't know why they did that, because I'm constantly having to tell people, because Michelle usually has 2 L's, right? So
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah.
Michelle, 1 L. I don't know.
There you go.
Yeah.
Here's the spelling we don't know so well. It's Michelle. Okay, Lisa M. Brandt, Twitter. And Lisa tweets, personally for me, I don't care if I have the right to take off my shirt. Yeah, me neither. I just like guys to put theirs back on. Ooh, and you did that in all caps. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. Shocked face, hashtag sunshine, hashtag heat, hashtag equality. Okay. What prompted that tweet? I guess it was something to do with the long weekend.
Yeah, there have been a lot of guys just with their shirts off. And, there's one man in our neighborhood who has his shirt off if there's sunshine out. It doesn't really matter what time of year. And, he's got this mat of gray hair and everything. And I mean, all our bodies are beautiful, Erin. They're lovely. I just don't want a glistening one in my face. And I don't care if they're old, young, fat, thin. It doesn't matter. Just keep your shirt on. Many, many years ago, Gwen Jacobs, famous young Ontarian, won the right for women to take their shirts off as well. We don't. So everybody just put your damn shirt back on. That's all I want.
Never mind the right to bear arms that they
Yeah.
scream about in the United States. It's the right to cover your torso here. In fact, if I recall, your radio station did something about this in, was it Hamilton?
Yeah, this was in the 90s. It was actually an idea I had that was ridiculous and came together because of my producer, Peggy Chapman, who could make anything happen. And Peggy is now with the Hamilton Bulldogs, who have relocated to Brantford, by the way. But anyway, we got a bus donated to us and a driver, and a whole bunch of listeners came along, and we got all these shirts printed up for beautifying Hamilton. It was Midday's Hamilton Beautification Project. And we basically just drove around the city and see a guy without a shirt. One of us would run out and say, "Hey, we're trying to beautify Hamilton. Do you mind covering up?" And and live on the show from the bus. And every man thought it was funny and put the shirt on and posed for pictures and everything. The only bit of trouble we ran into was when we got down to the Bayfront Park by the water. I had a bullhorn and I didn't have a permit. So a police officer actually stopped me. But that was live on the air too. It was just a silly thing to say, look, standing in line behind somebody and their pimply skin is in your face or whatever, it's just not pleasant. Just put a shirt on.
Oh, can you imagine, though, that if somebody did that to women, to us, if we were out in a bikini or something, and there are, I'm going to say younger, but not necessarily, some women who will walk along Harborfront or along the lake or whatever in a bikini top and shorts and that sort of thing. And some radio station, just said, "Hey, lady, your tatas are terrible. Put this shirt on."
But it was the 90s, and it wasn't just a bikini top. These were completely bare all the way to their waists. And I just think it's different. And it happened to be men then, because this was nothing to do. Women didn't have the so-called right to do it. And frankly, I've never cared about that. Like, this was a big equality thing for a long time. Well, if men can, I should be able to as well. Well, it's okay. If a young woman feels that strongly about it, you've got that right. I do not see any woman walking around with her shirt off, even though it's supposedly legal. So it was more than just saying you're not attractive. It was all shapes and sizes of men, little skinny men, big fat men, every kind of man. And it was just having some fun. And in today's culture and today's society and the way we look at things, including our body image, it would probably, you're right, not be considered fun at all, but it was just good, clean fun back there. So let's keep it in the context of the early 90s.
Yeah.
And just a silly little thing that we did. And we got radio station T-shirts on all these people. If you didn't have a shirt on, you ended up with a radio station shirt. And so, I don't know. It was meant to be fun.
Good promotion. Yeah. I remember being at a family resort. It was Rob and Lauren and me, and it was somewhere, I want to say in the Dominican Republic, because we encountered a lot of German tourists in the DR. And there was a woman who was lying out by the kiddie pool, and I could still see her because it was shocking to me that she was there in front of the kiddie pool and topless. And she was not, let us say, a bathing beauty. And that sounds judgy, and I guess, you know what, it is. But she had leathery skin and a bright pink bikini bottom and was overflowing the lounge chair, let us say. And there she was topless. And I know that children are supposed to know breasts as a method of feeding and not sexual, but they are what they are. And there's a place for that. And I don't think it's next to the kiddie pool. But you know what? It was okay, I guess, with the resort. So I start questioning myself. Am I the Puritan? Am I the one who is not in tune with the times or whatever that is? I would have to be dead. They'd have to be just zipping up the bag before anybody saw anything like that on me.
Don't you feel like she's got confidence to burn? I would feel the exact same way. The kiddie pool, all that other stuff. And if everybody else isn't doing it, lady, why are you? But on the other hand, it's kind of like, oh my goodness, I'd love to walk around with that kind of who cares what you think attitude. I wish I had that.
I do too. I really do too. And I remembered something my mother would have said, and that would be, why doesn't someone who loves her tell her how that looks? And then I thought, maybe whoever loves her thinks she's amazing, and good for her, good for her partner, whoever that may be. And that is to be envied in a lot of ways. It's a matter of judgment. I think it comes down to judgment, not ours, but hers in terms of doing it around children and that sort of thing, and what makes people uncomfortable, because they say that that's the epitome of manners, is to not make others uncomfortable.
Right.
But I don't know, it just stirs up so much stuff. And then I think of you, and I think of your career. Now, if you don't know this about Lisa, she worked in a nudist camp, and she'll unveil everything almost in a moment.
So here's how it happened. I had gone to high school and somewhere along the way had lost a credit. And I needed to make up one stupid credit. And I know it was an early computer error. Someone didn't poke something through the card or something in the old computer days. But I ended up having to come back. I'd already been accepted to college. I had to can all that, come back to high school to get one credit. So I had a lot of time off in the second semester, and I decided to get a job. Well, wasn't there an ad? It said everything but nudist resort in it, but we knew what it was. I ended up getting the job, and it was a live-in job at the Four Seasons Nature Resort in Freelton. Can you imagine my mother's reaction to that?
No, tell us.
You are not going to a nudist resort. And of course, being the bullheaded little twit that I was, that just gave me all I needed to say, yes, I am. So I packed up my milk carton of albums and some clothes, and up I went. And I spent the rest of that semester and most of the summer there, and just got really comfortable, not even comfortable, but just didn't care anymore that people were walking around naked. I mean, I literally wrote a book about it called The Naked Truth, but I mean, there was so much more than just naked people. But I will tell you that it is what you think as far as nudity goes. It's not the people you wish were nude who are nude, and it's the people you wish would cover back up who are the ones walking around proudly naked. And that's just the way it is, because it's at its core got nothing to do with typical ideas of beauty. It's got to do with freedom and being natural and all that kind of stuff, allegedly.
So many questions. So many questions.
Go ahead.
I think as somebody driving along, seeing the signs on the highway for, was it Bear Oaks? That was another one.
That's another one. Yes, my friend Stefan, who runs that, he and his wife. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Is it sex all the time on the picnic benches and in the bushes?
No. In fact, there are rules you must follow. I'll give you an example. At Four Seasons, when I was there 100 years ago, there was a guy who, they had a really good gym. Like, they had an amazing gym. And there was a guy who got a membership just to use the gym.
God, please wipe down that bench.
No, he would stay clothed. He would come in, use the weights, use everything, wipe everything down and leave. So it got to be a bit of a thing. And one guy would come in and he would just sit there and watch everybody.
Oh.
And he was cheerfully refunded his money and asked to leave. It's not about sex. It's about freedom. Like, I mean, there were little kids who were naked. That got to me. It was uncomfortable because there were all sorts of other adults around. These little kids are running around naked. There were some things that occurred here and there behind closed doors that I heard about or witnessed that take me away from the whole, we just want to be natural thing. But no, it wasn't an open orgy or anything like that. There was a lot of decorum, and there were families there and couples, committed couples, some committed to not being committed. It was like any other town, except we're a nude town.
So what went on behind closed doors? You can't just drop that nugget and walk away.
There was, and this is, of course, history, so it's not there anymore, but there was a very active porn industry that took place in this one cottage. So that was going on. And they were mailing out tapes, literally mailing out physical tapes. That's how long ago we're talking about.
Geez, I remember when we used to send postcards from our vacations at camp. But anyway. Jeez. Hello, Mother.
This is something a little more memorable.
Hello, Father. Yes, go on.
Yeah. And of course, I found out about these things, and didn't just shrug my shoulders and go, hey, that's okay. I mean, a lot of it started to erode my enjoyment of being there. Another thing was that they worked us like 16 hours a day by giving us 2 and 3 hour breaks and then back on and then back off. My feet swelled up to twice their regular size. I went and bought nurse's shoes. There were no Crocs back then because I could barely stand. My feet hurt so bad. I was on my feet all the time, which made my dad happy because at least I was on my feet, right?
And at least you were wearing shoes. What were you wearing as an employee?
Well, this was the thing. It became a bit of a game among some of the residents there and attendees to try and convert me. And I had no interest in it. For one thing, I thought I had the worst, most disgusting body in the universe. And, it was nothing I would ever want anybody to see, but there's just no way I could have joined in. I just didn't. There were a couple places where you had to either have a bathing suit or whatever, but it just wasn't going to happen. They stole my clothes one time, the guys on the little team that I worked with when I was in the shower. They tried a lot of different things to get me to join in the lifestyle, but it wasn't my thing. So you mentioned Bear Oak. So Stefan and his wife, I got to know him because he does a podcast about nudism. He found my book and we talked about it. Wonderful man. He and his wife run this place ethically, wonderfully. And I went there to visit him one day in Sharon, because my brother and sister-in-law lived there, so I was close. And I was told very nicely I would not be allowed back unless I would take my clothes off. So I've only been there once. I will never go again. So
okay, I still have more questions. So many more questions. This may be the longest podcast ever. How old were you when you were working at this camp?
I would have been 17-ish.
Okay, so you did not get a credit for this. Going back to what you started, this wasn't accredited.
No, this was just a job because I had the time. So it was just a paid job, yeah.
All right, more questions. Knowing that you, like I, were probably not pure as the driven snow at that age, did you see anything you'd never seen before?
Let me think for a minute. Well, I saw things that I would have seen later in life probably or known about later in life.
On us.
One woman who, what happened to her breasts from breastfeeding her kids and losing a lot of weight, they floated on the water in the pool.
Mm-hmm.
The changes that happen to people's bodies that I didn't know about. Men, I don't want to go there, but I tried not to look.
Boat bumpers. Yeah, that's what I kid Cooper about that. My radio partner, Mike Cooper, and don't ask. It's not that I've seen them, but he would talk about, in warm weather and discomfort. And I'd say, oh, the boat bumpers are bothering you. But anyway,
yes. I tried hard not to look at people below the neck. It was difficult, but I did because it could really get to you after a while. People are hot, so they're sweating. You could always tell that the newbies would come in and they're like, oh, my butt's sunburned. What do I do about it? Because they didn't think about putting sunscreen on. Just a lot of things that you didn't think about. Like people would say, how do they carry money? Well, they buy beads and you can make a necklace out of them. And then it ends up becoming a bracelet as you spend more beads. And
oh, you see, that's not at all where I thought they would tuck their bills. But anyway, okay.
Yeah, there was a lot to it. But you know what the best part was especially when I was younger, and people would say, well, I spent a summer doing this. And I would sit back and just smile and they go, yeah, well, I had the coolest job. I spent a summer doing this. And then I'd just throw my trump card down and go, yeah, well, you know what I did for a summer? So.
That's right. I'm out.
Yeah.
One more question. And I'm so sorry to kind of have these deep, dark questions. And you'd think I would have asked them of you, all the time we've spent together. But were there any natural signs of attraction, by which I mean the flag at half staff? You know what I mean?
No, not that I am aware of, because people were nervous.
Oh.
Actually, I want to change that answer a little bit. During the dances that they had, once every week or 2 weeks, there was a massive pool, and this big dance floor would lower over it. It was up at the ceiling most of the time. And so they'd have these dances.
Just like It's a Wonderful Life.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Except nobody went over backwards because it would cover it completely.
Okay.
But they would have these dances, and that's when people got turned on because they were in clothing. It's so backwards. It's weird. But they would see them in clothing, and there would be that dancing, and they're having a few drinks and whatever. And that's when you'd see people coupling up and stuff like that. Not when they were naked.
Interesting.
Weird, eh?
It is interesting because, usually we think of clothes as sort of the precursor, the seven veils that say, if you don't know what's under here. And well, I'll speak for myself. It's a good thing. But, but in this case, it was the clothes that made you more attractive. Isn't that interesting in terms of the human psyche and sexuality?
I remember standing back with these two guys, sort of watching people dancing and going, wow, this is a really strange phenomenon. But of course, there was also booze involved. People are having a few drinks and, it was just cut loose time. The rest of the time, they were more interested in lying around sunning with a good book or, something like that.
Or playing ring toss with the guy in the corner. Never mind. Oh, Davis, you're so classy. Oh, thanks for answering my questions. And the book is called The Naked Truth.
Yeah.
Lisa's Trade Up, which is also a good title for a nudist camp. Trade Up is also available on Amazon. You had a tremendous book launch last week. I was just quelling for you like crazy. I was so happy for you.
Thank you.
So congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay. Who are some of the oldest people that you saw in the nudist camp, Lisa?
Ooh, they would probably have been in their 70s, some in their 80s.
That's interesting because, as we well know, especially from stories about, and I hate to be indelicate, but sexually transmitted diseases in seniors' residences, there is a lot still going on as people age, which gives us all encouragement. But for a lot of women, it's just not a possibility. But there are a few stories now that we'd like to share with you that could open doors for you in terms of life after menopause when it comes to your sex life. One of the things that comes with menopause, of course, are hot flashes. And, for all the guys who are listening, you can listen to this because this is something that affects you. You may well have a partner who is sitting there suffering through these things all the time, and you may want to know more about it. But this could give us all encouragement, right?
Yeah, there's supposedly issues taking hormones for some people, and we're drying up and flying away in some parts of our bodies because of the lack of estrogen. And a lot of even these supplements that women take, even though it's plant-based estrogen, it's still estrogen, and so that's got them worried. This new stuff that's come out is not a hormone, but it supposedly can help ease the symptoms of menopause, right? So this stuff called Veoza is just FDA approved. So that means it's available in the States, right? For hot flashes and some of these other things to do with menopause. So that's a really good sign because it's not hormonal. It's the first of its kind drug. But the only problem is it's really super expensive. It's like $550 a month.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to preclude an awful lot of women who really, really need relief from hot flashes. And that is a lot of women. Before I started on hormone replacement therapy, and I entered menopause at about 50, every time something frustrated me on the computer or I felt shame, right away I was like, this jet engine of a rocket taking off. And it was like, oh, now I don't suffer it like my mom did. She wore a headband all the time and she was always having them. And so I know if it wasn't for hormone replacement therapy, I would be suffering just like her because everything about my body has mirrored hers. So this could be really something. Now, if we could get the Canadian government to cover it, and honestly, I think our government is more likely to cover anything for women's bodies than the American government is, where they just want to keep you locked up and creating babies for all of your fertile years.
Exactly. Yeah, but it's kind of been a thing among women like, well, if men got menopause, no offense, man, but if men got menopause, they would have done something about it by now. There would be a fix for it.
Yeah.
This is like a really good step in the right direction.
It is. And we're not sitting here pushing hormone replacement therapy.
No.
We are neither of us doctors or chemists or whatever it is that you need to know all of this stuff. There was a story that opened my eyes that came out in February, and I sent it on to you and to my sisters. It was in the New York Times. about it. Menopausal hormone therapy was once the most commonly prescribed treatment in the United States.
Wow.
We all needed relief, or, we all have.
Wow.
In the late 90s, 15 million women a year were getting a prescription for it. But then in 2002, there was one study which was imperfectly designed that found links between hormone therapy and elevated health risks for women of all ages. So because of that one imperfectly designed single study,
Wow.
panic set in. It was on all the TV morning shows, and everybody just said, no, I'm getting off it. I'm going to stop. In 1 year, the number of prescriptions plummeted. Hormone therapy, of course, carries risks, to be sure, as do many medications that people take to relieve serious discomfort. But dozens of studies since that year have provided reassurance that for healthy women under 60 whose hot flashes are troubling them, the benefits of taking hormones far outweigh the risks. But the reputation has never recovered. About 85% of us experience menopausal symptoms, and menopausal women have been underserved, just like you said. A professor of psychiatry at University of Pittsburgh says the oversight she considers one of the great blind spots of medicine because culture tolerates women's suffering. And haven't we heard anecdotally of two people, a husband and a wife, going in for the same thing, and the husband is sent home? This was after dental surgery, I think, that my daughter-in-law was telling me about it. He was sent home with T3s or stronger, and she was sent home and told to take some Tylenol or ibuprofen,
Right.
because just anecdotally, women are seen to be able to suffer higher levels of pain.
Yeah.
And it's just not fair. Oh, sorry, you're a woman. You're going to have to put up with every month your body being ravaged. And then when you're done being of childbearing age, you're going to heat up like a cauldron every 2-3 hours or constantly.
Yeah.
And it's just not fair. And I think it's really encouraging that we're re-examining that faulty study of 2002. Talk to your doctor about it. Ask them to look it up in the New York Times, and maybe even jumping into this other drug if it ever gets approved in Canada, or perhaps it is. And it's called what again, Lisa?
It's called Veoza, and it's got a long name, fezolinetant or something, but Veoza is the brand name. It's funny, a friend of ours is taking these hormone pellets. I don't know enough about it. I'm sure there are people who know tons about it, but every 3 months she gets these pellets under her skin and she feels like a human being again. And we were talking about it and the fact that because I have a family history of cancer, I'm not supposed to be on HRT more than 5 years. And she says, that's flawed. And I'm thinking, well, how does she know this is flawed and my doctor doesn't? That really ticks me off that my doctor isn't up on the latest when she says the latest information is that this is a flawed premise that she's operating on. And it's just, it's really hard to know where to go and what to believe anymore.
Well, if your medical system in Ontario is like ours in BC, I don't have a gynecologist. I don't have an OBGYN. You have to have a specific problem. You get to see them. You get it treated.
Right.
And then you have to be re-referred. And growing up, I always had a gynecologist. But now, no, it's just not part of the regular service if you're lucky to have a doctor at all, which we are. And he is very open-minded. So I could go to him and say, hey, this is the latest. And yeah, I'm over 5 years on the hormone replacement. And after I had a medical, let's say, blip and had to have something removed, my hormones were changed and I'm still on something else. And I'm happy with that.
Right.
I would almost rather take the risk than to live a miserable life. And it's too bad that we have to kind of make that decision. It's about quality of life, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And I have to say, my doctor, she must have really good relationships with specialists because I don't seem to have to wait very long. So that's good. But I agree with you. Quality of life is so much more important. I remember a nurse saying to me years ago when I was first put on a medication that I was going to have to be on for a while. And I said, is there any evidence that this could shorten my life? And she said, but won't it be a better life?
Ooh.
That stuck with me. And I thought, there is no evidence. It hadn't been around long enough, but she's right. What is the point of being in misery, but living along,
Yeah, but don't forget, there are commercials for erectile dysfunction on television every second ad. If it's not for gambling online, It's for erectile dysfunction. And so we know where the priorities are, Lisa, and they're not with us. You can bet on that.
Yep.
Well, on that note, with my initials being ED and all, I guess it's time for us to wrap up for this week. And thanks for coming along for the ride. We know that it wasn't probably what you expected, but isn't that half the fun of Gracefully and Frankly? We take it off literally in all different directions. And I look forward to talking to you again next week, Lisa. What do you say?
Oh, always. This is one of the best parts of my week. It is the most consistently great part of my week. So thank you for that.
Congratulations again on your book launch for Trade Up, available on Amazon and hopefully soon in schools. And once again, our thanks to Envy Pillow. No matter what kind of night you're having, hot flashes or not, get a better sleep with Envy Pillow. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.